Excellency Eric Yap, Commissioner of the Singapore Civil Defence Force, SCDF, Excellency Kiya Masahiko, Ambassador of Japan to ASEAN, Excellency Sojiro Sim, Ambassador of the European Union to ASEAN, Mr. Lee Yang-min, Executive Director of the Heart Center, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I want to begin by thanking the Singapore Civil Defence Force for hosting the 11th Senior Executive Program in Disaster Management. My thanks also go to the European Union and the government of Japan for their support in making this program possible. To all participants, welcome. Since 2015, the SEPDM has prepared senior executives from across ASEAN with the knowledge and leadership skills needed to manage disasters at the strategic and policy levels. I'm confident this year's program will continue building leaders who can tackle catastrophic risks and respond to our region's changing disaster landscape. Some of you may come from countries that have been affected by severe weather recently. The devastating impacts of Typhoon Yagi in September last year, and Typhoon Bualoi and Typhoon Matmo in September and October this year remind us why the work we're doing here matters and why it's urgent. Excellencies, participants, ladies and gentlemen, this year is particularly important for ASEAN. In May, at the 46th ASEAN Summit in Kuala Lumpur, our leaders adopted ASEAN 2045, our shared future. This sets our regional direction for the next 2 decades. It represents our determination to adapt, thrive, and lead in an increasingly uncertain world. This blueprint, which includes the ASEAN Community Vision 2045 and its 4 strategic plans, lays out what we want to achieve: a resilient, innovative, dynamic, and people-centered ASEAN by 2045. Resilience is central to this vision, and the disaster management sector is critical to making it real. This year also marks 20 years since we signed the ASEAN Agreement on Disaster Management and Emergency Response, ADMIR. For 2 decades, ADMIR has anchored our regional cooperation in disaster management, coordinating efforts, providing technical assistance, and mobilizing resources. Last month in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, at the 13th ASEAN Ministerial Meeting on Disaster Management, ministers took stock of what we accomplished and adopted a statement on 20 years of ADMIR that charts our path forward. The goal is clear: strengthen disaster resilience within ASEAN while establishing ourselves as a global leader in this field. The ministers also launched the ADMIR Work Program 2026-2030. This will guide how we address climate-driven risks, deepen regional collaboration, advance anticipatory action, strengthen preparedness and response, improve post-disaster recovery, and build back better efforts, and demonstrate ASEAN's leadership regionally and globally. Against this backdrop, and at a time when disaster frequency and intensity are accelerating across our region, this year's SEPDM focus is both timely and necessary. The 3 themes: disasters and crisis leadership, research, technology, and innovation for disaster management, and emerging trends in disaster management, directly support the ASEAN Community Vision 2045, the Ministerial Statement, and the ADMIR Work Program 2026-2030. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we're living through an era of increasingly complex disaster risk, ASEAN understands that strong leadership in disaster management is more important than ever. We continue to strengthen our collective response mechanisms. Exercises like the ASEAN Regional Disaster Emergency Response Simulation Exercise. Most recently, ADEX 25 implementing Cambodia test and improve our systems. Enhanced frameworks such as SASOP and the ASEAN Joint Disaster Response Plan ensure we are ready to act quickly and effectively when disasters occur. The ASEAN Capacity Building Roadmap 2025-2030 on disaster management is guiding how we develop leadership capacity at all levels. Flagship programs, the ACE Leadership in Emergency and Disaster Management Program, ASEAN ERAD courses, the Disaster Risk Management Capacity Building Program, the ASEAN China Disaster Management Program, and this SEPDM. All are building the leaders we need for the future. The ASEAN Standardization and Certification for Experts in Disaster Management maintains regional competency standards, while the AHA Center's enhanced learning management system makes knowledge resources more accessible. We also established the ASEAN Disaster Management Training Network to improve coordination and synergy across all these initiatives. Research, technology, and innovation are equally important. Through the ICT Roadmap on Disaster Management for 2025 and beyond, ASEAN has advanced tools like the ASEAN Disaster Information Network, the ASEAN Emergency Operations Center, and the ASEAN Disaster Risk Monitoring System. Looking ahead, the ASEAN Plan of Action on Science, Technology, and Innovation 2026-2035 will drive new initiatives in meteorology, weather modification, and space technology to improve hazard forecasting and strengthen anticipatory approaches to disaster management. ASEAN also continues learning about emerging trends by engaging in dialogue and knowledge exchange with partners and stakeholders. Platforms like the ASEAN Strategic Policy Dialogue on Disaster Management, hosted annually by the Singapore Civil Defence Force, the biannual ASEAN Disaster Resilience Forum, and the ASEAN Inter-Regional Dialogue on Disaster Resilience all play important roles in this work. Let me be specific about how we can strengthen our collective efforts further. I have two recommendations. First, on disaster and crisis leadership. We need to build our collective capacity to understand disaster risks and their full complexity. As I highlighted in my keynote address at the ASEAN Strategic Policy Dialogue on Disaster Management in August here in Singapore, we must reconceptualize disasters beyond natural hazards and pandemics to also include human-induced crises. These risks increasingly appear as cascading, systemic, and interconnected challenges. Our policies and responses must continue to evolve to remain relevant to communities across ASEAN, ensuring that when disaster strikes, we act swiftly without hesitation over definitions. At the same time, it is vital that humanitarian assistance remains depoliticized, guided solely by the imperative to protect innocent lives. Dealing with these complexities demands leadership that is integrated, holistic, and forward-looking. Leadership guided by foresight and strengthened through collaboration. Second, on research, technology, and innovation, ASEAN must build stronger partnerships with research institutions, think tanks, and academia. The European Union's Aristotle ENHSP project, all risk integrated system toward transboundary holistic early warning, European Natural Hazard Scientific Partnership Project, and the EU Civil Protection Knowledge Network offer excellent models. They bring together networks of experts and institutions to provide timely, evidence-based advice for disaster preparedness and response. We also need closer engagement with the private sector, especially technology companies, to tap into innovative solutions for disaster risk reduction. The Japan Bonsai platform demonstrates how government-private sector partnership can drive innovation and build resilience. Excellencies, participant leaders and gentlemen, the SEPDM gives you a valuable opportunity to deepen your knowledge, exchange perspectives, and explore practical strategies around these three themes. The challenges you discussed this week are theoretical. They are unfolding across our region right now. Your leadership will determine how effective we respond. I am confident this program will strengthen your leadership capacity in disaster management, and through you, contribute to ASEAN's goal of becoming a global leader in this field. I wish you all a productive, successful course. Thank you.